Are you dealing with Achilles tendon pain slash like heel pain and you're unsure what it is? Is it plantar fasciitis or Achilles tendinopathy? My name is Dr. Marco Lopez, Doctor of Physical Therapy, Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist, and co-founder of the Basketball Doctors. So one of the biggest things we see is that people are sometimes not aware of what's actually going down in their heel. Is it more Achilles tendon pain or is it more plantar fasciitis? So we're gonna break those two diagnoses apart. So first, let's go into the Achilles tendinopathy. So we have a great video on all things Achilles tendinopathy. Click the description below, but I'll give you guys a quick summary. So with Achilles tendinopathy, there's two types of Achilles tendinopathy. So Achilles tendinopathy is more that degeneration of the tendon, and that's that pain there, and it's chronic over time. But there's two types of Achilles tendinopathy. We have the insertional, and then we have the non-insertional. The insertional is more in our heel, and the non-insertional is more in the tendon. But with plantar fasciitis, it's irritation of that plantar fascia over time, but you'll have some heel pain as well, and also more bottom of the foot pain. So the biggest thing a lot of the times is people are like, hey, I have heel pain, and they're like, I'm not sure if it's more that Achilles insertional tendinopathy or plantar fasciitis, and that's where we're gonna start talking about the difference between those two. So with plantar fasciitis, you'll have pain with the first steps in the morning. You'll wake up in the morning and it's really hard to really walk. You'll have that heel pain, but you'll also have bottom of your foot pain. However, with Achilles tendinopathy, sometimes with the insertional in the morning, you're gonna have pain and stiffness, but it's not gonna hurt as much with the first steps. But with plantar fasciitis, once you put that first step, it hurts a lot. It might get a little bit better, but it's just getting irritated there. In regards to plantar fasciitis as well, is one of the tests that we like to do to make sure, like rule out versus tendinopathy, is it's called the windlass mechanism test, where we drive our foot. So this is your foot. We stretch out our foot, and this might irritate your Achilles tendinopathy or insertional pain because you're stretching out your ankle. However, we're gonna add one little twist to differentiate between more that Achilles tendinopathy versus the plantar fasciitis is we stretch out the big toe. So when we stretch out our foot and then we stretch out our big toe, if the pain increases with our big toe, that means it's more plantar fasciitis versus Achilles tendinopathy. If the pain doesn't change as we stretch the big toe, that's more Achilles tendinopathy. And you'll also see that whenever you stretch and you pull the big toe, you'll start feeling pain more in the bottom of your foot. You'll also feel pain in the bottom of the heel, but more the bottom of the foot. Versus when you just stretch your foot here, you're gonna feel more than the Achilles tendon itself. That's more the Achilles tendinopathy. So those are some of the subtle differences between Achilles tendinopathy and plantar fasciitis in regards to symptoms and how we can differentiate. But in regards to treatment, they're totally different. So one, Achilles tendinopathy, the difference is that we're really working on getting that as strong as we can, making sure we're doing the proper level of progressions, and it's usually due to a chronic overload issue. With plantar fasciitis, a lot of the times it's more mechanical. Sometimes we don't have a good walking pattern because it's usually over just the gait. Every time you're walking, you're maybe rolling off your big toe the wrong way. Maybe you don't have good dorsiflexion range of motion. So, or your foot's over pronating too much, more that dynamic pronation, as opposed to, you know how some people they're born with flat feet. Maybe you have a normal arch, but when you're walking, you collapse too much. When you collapse too much, that's irritating that plantar fascia. So it's more of those mechanics that we gotta work on mobility. We wanna work on that posterior tibialis strength and working on more neurocognitive, working the foot, making sure you're creating that short foot versus more that Achilles tendinopathy. It's like, hey, we need to get that tendon stronger. You gotta work on some calf raises. So the treatment's a little different. If you start doing some of the treatment that we're going to go in the Achilles tendinopathy, some low-level jumps, the plantar fasciitis might get irritated because it's not ready for that. We might have to, I usually tell people the plantar fasciitis is a little bit more regressed than the Achilles tendinopathy pain, because with the Achilles tendinopathy pain, you're a little bit more functional. And another thing that we like to have on both sides is we like to use a heel lift early on. But with the plantar fasciitis, we use a heel lift a little bit longer than the Achilles tendinopathy. The tendinopathy, we'll use a heel lift early on, just a little bit, and then wean off of it. Plantar fasciitis, we might have to use that heel lift a little bit longer because it disrupts your normal functional activities. A lot of people have trouble just doing everyday activities of walking. Achilles tendinopathy, you'll be able to walk, but you can't play your sport as much. So those are some of the main differences in treatment, symptoms, and everything. Like I mentioned, to summarize, the differences are plantar fasciitis, you'll have more pain in the bottom of the heel and in the bottom of your foot. It gets really aggravated when we stretch out our foot and push our big toe. If that makes your symptoms worse, that's more plantar fasciitis. Versus Achilles tendinopathy, you'll have 2 points at the bottom of the heel, but not underneath it, more in the tendon, where the tendon inserts the heel, and then in the middle part of the tendon. And that could get worse when you stretch it, but it won't get worse when you push your big toe out. So those are the main differences between tendinopathy and plantar fasciitis. If you guys have any questions regarding the differences between the two, comment below. We'll try to answer as many questions as you can. And we also check out our Achilles tendon rehab program. Great program for anyone dealing with that Achilles tendinopathy pain. We are the basketball doctors. Let's ball for life.